Hello to all of you from around the world. I want to thank you for joining us for this edition of Soulivity Today. We're broadcasting live from our studio right here in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and on KMET 1490 AM radio in Southern California. My name is Brian Westley Johnson, and whether you're at home, driving, or even at work, we are always glad you're here with us. We have another amazing show for you today as we look at some of the top stories in health and wellness for another Wellness Wednesday. We love these shows. We absolutely love them. We love giving it to you. So let's get to our first story. In 2022, on Easter morning, Tatum Cluetry's little sister told her dad that something was wrong. And her mom was just like, no, she's not. No, she's not. But the truth was Tatum's arm wasn't working. Her speech was making no sense, and her reasoning was off. At only 18 years old, Tatum was having a stroke. Let's learn more about this full story from WWL-TV.
Freshman at LSU says new friends often think she's joking when she says she's a stroke survivor, but she's not. And tonight, she and her doctors explained to medical reporter Mac Ferris what happened and how it can happen to someone so young and seemingly healthy.
It was Easter morning last year when Tatum Cluetry's little sister told their dad something's wrong.
I remember my dad saying, call 911, Tatum's having a stroke. And my mom was just like, no, she's not. No, she's not.
Because Tatum was only 18, about to graduate from Mount Carmel, but her arm wasn't working, her speech making no sense, her reasoning was off.
We got in the ambulance after they arrived to our house, and my mom and I, we said Hail Marys the whole way.
In the East Jefferson General Hospital ER, a look at blood flow in Tatum's brain revealed it was a stroke. A look at her heart revealed why someone without the usual risk factors, age, diabetes, high blood pressure and cholesterol, heart or kidney disease, obesity and smoking, could be having a stroke. There was a hole between two chambers of her heart. It's normal before birth, but supposed to close afterwards.
In 25% of the population, that hole doesn't close and remains open. And some people can have then, or an emboli that crosses that hole and goes to the brain, causing what we call now a stroke.
Interventional cardiologist Dr. Pedro Cox fixed the hole in Tatum's heart at Children's Hospital. In a cath lab, he threads this tube through her vessels, entering in the groin area. Then, when it goes through the hole, a patch is opened up and deployed on each side of the hole, sealing it forever.
And by closing the hole, we're able now to reduce her risk of having a recurrent stroke by a lot.
Director of the EJ Stroke Program, Dr. Enrique Segura, says what saved Tatum from permanent brain damage was getting her to the ER fast.
One of the reasons she had such a good outcome was the fact that her family was able to identify those symptoms of a stroke.
That's because Tatum's grandmother had strokes twice. One was scary for Tatum to see. She was only in grade school.
We recognized it because she was slurring her words. Her hands were shaky. She wasn't really communicating.
Tatum just finished her freshman year at LSU. She is grateful for nurses like longtime friend Miss Terry and the doctors for completely giving her back her life.
I just think it's not a coincidence that this happened on Easter Sunday, that I am just blessed to be here, because if it wasn't for my faith, I just feel like there's no way I could be processing this as well as I have, but I definitely owe a lot.
Meg Farris, Eyewitness News, Medical Watch.
Now, the signs of a
Now, again, the signs of a stroke can be remembered by the BFAST acronym, which stands for problems with balance, eyes, face, arm, and speech, and little time to waste in getting to the emergency room. So please remember this, that the strokes can affect all of us at any age. We've always known that playing a musical instrument gives us enjoyment and joy, as well as the ability to express feelings in different ways. And when we gain mastery, the feelings of satisfaction can grow and grow. but a new study may give insights into how it can improve brain function. According to the Good News Network, scientists working on the PROTECT study, an online study open to people aged 40 and over, reviewed data from more than 1,000 adults to see the effect of playing a musical instrument or singing on brain health. And what they found was that apart from any benefits it has for emotional well-being, it actually improved the memory and cognitive speeds of the 40 and ups. Let's learn more about how playing an instrument benefits your brain from Ted Ed.
Did you know that every time musicians pick up their instruments, there are fireworks going off all over their brain? On the outside, they may look calm and focused, reading the music and making the precise and practiced movements required. But inside their brains, there's a party going on. How do we know this? Well, in the last few decades, neuroscientists have made enormous breakthroughs in understanding how our brains work by monitoring them in real time with instruments like fMRI and PET scanners. When people are hooked up to these machines, tasks such as reading or doing math problems each have corresponding areas of the brain where activity can be observed. But when researchers got the participants to listen to music, they saw fireworks. Multiple areas of their brains were lighting up at once as they processed the sound, took it apart to understand elements like melody and rhythm, and then put it all back together into unified musical experience. And our brains do all this work in the split second between when we first hear the music and when our foot starts to tap along. But when scientists turn from observing the brains of music listeners to those of musicians, the little backyard fireworks became a jubilee. It turns out that while listening to music engages the brain in some pretty interesting activities, playing music is the brain's equivalent of a full-body workout. The neuroscientists saw multiple areas of the brain light up, simultaneously processing different information in intricate, interrelated, and astonishingly fast sequences. But what is it about making music that sets the brain alight? The research is still fairly new, but neuroscientists have a pretty good idea. Playing a musical instrument engages practically every area of the brain at once, especially the visual, auditory, and motor cortices. And as with any other workout, disciplined, structured practice in playing music strengthens those brain functions, allowing us to apply that strength to other activities. The most obvious difference between listening to music and playing it is that the latter requires fine motor skills, which are controlled in both hemispheres of the brain. It also combines the linguistic and mathematical precision in which the left hemisphere is more involved with the novel and creative content that the right excels in. For these reasons, playing music has been found to increase the volume and activity in the brain's corpus callosum, the bridge between the two hemispheres, allowing messages to get across the brain faster and through more diverse routes. This may allow musicians to solve problems more effectively and creatively in both academic and social settings. Because making music also involves crafting and understanding its emotional content and message, musicians often have higher levels of executive function, a category of interlinked tasks that includes planning, strategizing, and attention to detail, and requires simultaneous analysis of both cognitive and emotional aspects. This ability also has an impact on how our memory systems work. And indeed, musicians exhibit enhanced memory functions, creating, storing, and retrieving memories more quickly and efficiently. Studies have found that musicians appear to use their highly connected brains to give each memory multiple tags, such as a conceptual tag, an emotional tag, an audio tag, and a contextual tag, like a good internet search engine. So how do we know that all these benefits are unique to music as opposed to, say, sports or painting? Or could it be that people who go into music were already smarter to begin with? Neuroscientists have explored these issues, but so far they have found that the artistic and aesthetic aspects of learning to play a musical instrument are different from any other activity studied, including other arts. And several randomized studies of participants who showed the same levels of cognitive function and neural processing at the start found that those who were exposed to a period of music learning showed enhancement in multiple brain areas compared to the others. This recent research about the mental benefits of playing music has advanced our understanding of mental function, revealing the inner rhythms and complex interplay that make up the amazing orchestra of our brain.
Fantastic. Now, over 25,000 people have signed up for the Protect study, which has been running for about 10 years now. And in order to come up with this exciting finding, the teams reviewed participants' musical experience and lifetime exposure to music, alongside results of cognitive testing to determine whether musicality helps to keep the brain sharp in later life. Now, here in the United States, February celebrates the history of African Americans and their legacy, which is part of the fabric of our nation. Now, each day we air Soulivity Today, we're committed to airing moments of Black history to commemorate these great American heroes. Enjoy.
Dr. James Mccon Smith was an African-American physician, pharmacist, abolitionist, and author. He was the first African-American to earn a medical degree. He earned his bachelor's, master's, and medical degrees at the University of Glasgow, in Glasgow, Scotland. He was also the first African-American to run a pharmacy in the United States. After completing medical school and a residency in Europe, Dr. Smith returned to New York with a mission to help people, especially less fortunate African Americans. He started a clinic for white and Black patients in Lower Manhattan. His clinic also provided a place where many escaped slaves found help. Dr. Smith also worked as the physician for the Colored Orphan Asylum in Manhattan for 20 years. Despite his successful medical practice, he was never admitted to the American Medical Association or local medical associations, most likely due to the systemic racism Dr. Smith confronted throughout his medical career. Dr. Smith has been well known for his leadership in the abolitionist movement. Counted amongst his friends and colleagues were several leading abolitionists, including Frederick Douglass and John Brown. In collaboration with Frederick Douglass, Dr. Smith helped start the National Council of Colored People in 1853, the first permanent national organization for Blacks. Douglass called Dr. Smith the single most important influence on his life. Dr. Smith lectured on race and abolitionism and wrote numerous articles to refute racist ideologies that purported inferiority of Black people. Dr. Smith was one of the Committee of 13 who organized in Manhattan to aid refugee slaves via the Underground Railroad, thereby resisting the newly passed Fugitive Slave Law. James Mccon Smith was born into slavery in 1813 in Manhattan and was set free on July 4, 1827, at the age of 14 by the Emancipation Act of New York. His mother was an enslaved woman named Lavinia. His father was Samuel Smith, a white merchant and his mother's slave master. James Mccon Smith grew up only with his mother. James Mccon Smith's mother also achieved her emancipation from slavery while living in New York. Upon his graduation from the African Free School in Manhattan, he applied to Columbia University and Geneva Medical College in New York State, but was denied admission due to racial discrimination. Abolitionist benefactors of the African Free School provided money for Smith's overseas trip and education. In the early 1840s, Smith married Malvina Barnett, a free woman of color who had graduated from the Rutgers Female Institute. The couple had 11 children. 5 survived to adulthood. By 1860, Dr. Smith was wealthy and had built and lived in a mansion. However, in 1863, after the burning of the orphanage in which he practiced medicine for over 20 years in Manhattan, and the draft riots in Manhattan that took the lives of over 100 Black people, Smith and his family were among other prominent African Americans who left Manhattan and moved to Brooklyn for safety. His children married white spouses and passed into white society to escape racial discrimination. In 1847, the New York Academy of Medicine was founded, and Smith was nominated for fellowship. But because of his race, Dr. Smith's nomination was effectively rejected. In November 2018, 171 years after his nomination, the New York Academy of Medicine posthumously inducted Dr. Smith as a fellow into the Academy. Dr. Smith, in 1863, was appointed as professor of anthropology at Wilberforce College, the first African-American-owned and operated college in the United States. Dr. Smith was too ill to take the position. He died on November 17, 1865, at the age of 52 from congestive heart failure. He was survived by his widow Malvina and their 5 children.
Thank you, Dr. Smith, for your legacy. Listen, we're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back with more Soulivity Today in just a second. Hi there, this is Brian with Soulivity.com. I want to share some exciting news about our new Aspire Academy by Soulivity. Now, you probably want to know what the Aspire Academy by Soulivity is. Well, it exclusively connects you with people around the globe and who share the intense desire to improve themselves and create a better life for themselves today. There's classes, there's workshops, there's live events, and even more exclusively just for you. You see, I wanted you to have a safe space where you could grow, you can learn, and it would empower you in all aspects of your life, including your mind, your body, and your soul. So how do you get started? Well, it is so easy. First of all, the best part, joining Aspire Academy is absolutely free. Just click on the Join Now button, sign up, and begin your journey. As a special part of this invitation to you, there are some free courses that are available for you to try from our amazing roster of coaches and collaborators. It's our way of saying thank you for all of your support and being with us along our journey of expansion. I hope you enjoy the Aspire Academy by Soulivity today. Start the process. Learn more about your passion, your purpose, and how to live a higher quality life. Hey there, we are back here with more on Soulivity today as we look at some of the top stories in health and wellness for another Wellness Wednesday. Now, if you've been wondering whether to start an exercise program in 2024, this next story is definitely going to give you some inspiration. You see, this World War II veteran walks every single day for his health as well as a way to give back. Let's learn more about this amazing man from the folks over at SWNS.
When the COVID lockdown occurred, I felt that I had to do something to exercise. And so I decided to start walking outside.
This is my daily routine, which I carry out first thing in the morning after breakfast, and also a couple of times during the afternoon.
I started with 40 laps a day, which I did 30 in the morning and another 10 in the afternoon. But when I reached 100, I gave myself a present and reduced it to 30 laps. Despite the weather, if it's only raining slightly, I'm out there, and the cold, I can cope with that. I draw my anorak hood over me and keeps the warmth. And so far I've done around the back of the bungalow, down the one side and back again, 41,550 times. The other thing about walking outside every day has kept me very fit, and also the walking. I have no problems with knees, ankles or feet or anything like that, because that continuous walking and exercise has kept me very, very fit. For determination and resilience, I was taught that in the army, having served for 5 years during the war. Captain Tom did something to raise money, and I thought then that I could do the same. And the one that I thought of was motor neurone disease, because I'd had 3 dear friends who died from that terrible illness. I'm always looking for opportunities to get more money in, and I had a concert at our church at Stockland Green that raised over £2,000. So now we're over £43,000 has been raised. I may intend to keep going as long as I can, despite my age, to help other people, because in life it is about helping other people.
Wow. I think he's putting us all to shame, right? Woo! Man, way to go, sir. Now, as a kid, I remember the times at which restaurants would offer different selections of juice when you were ordering breakfast, right? I love going out to eat in the morning with my family. And though I would typically order orange juice, a new study has shown that maybe that choice should have been tomato instead. Scientists at Cornell University in New York have shown that tomato juice kills a particular bacteria responsible for typhoid fever, a debilitating tropical disease, in addition to other bacteria that can harm people's digestive and urinary tract health. But tomato juice seems to have other great benefits as well. Let's learn more about this fabulous juice from the folks over at Remedies Insider.
If you're someone who loves exploring the incredible world of beverages that can elevate your health, you're in for a treat. Today, we're diving into a tangy and nutritious topic that's sure to pique your interest: the incredible benefits of drinking tomato juice. You won't believe what this crimson elixir can do for your health. So grab a glass and let's get started. Tomato juice is made from tomatoes that are juiced and sometimes seasoned with a bit of salt or other spices. It's a nutrient-dense beverage that offers some powerful health perks. I'm excited to share more, so let's jump right in. Benefit 10. It's hydrating. Tomato juice is mostly water, so it can help keep you hydrated. It provides fluids and electrolytes like potassium that are lost through sweat. Staying hydrated is crucial for energy levels, digestion, brain function, and more. Benefit 9. It provides key antioxidants. Tomatoes contain the antioxidants lycopene and beta-carotene. Lycopene gives tomatoes their rich red color and is linked to reducing inflammation, fighting cancer cell growth, and promoting heart health. Benefit 8. It helps boost skin health. The antioxidants in tomato juice help fight free radical damage that can lead to premature aging. Lycopene has been shown to protect the skin from UV damage from the sun. The vitamin C in tomato juice also supports collagen production for smoother, firmer skin. Benefit 7. It supports heart health. Studies show that drinking tomato juice can help lower LDL or bad cholesterol levels, reduce blood pressure, and reduce the risk of blood clots due to the lycopene, potassium, and vitamin C. The folate in tomato juice also helps convert homocysteine, which is associated with cardiovascular disease risk, into benign molecules. Benefit 6. It strengthens bones. Tomato juice contains vitamin K, calcium, and magnesium, critical nutrients for building and maintaining strong bones and reducing the risk of fractures and osteoporosis. The potassium in tomato juice may help prevent calcium loss from bones as well. Benefit 5. It helps ease inflammation. The anti-inflammatory effects of lycopene and other antioxidants in tomato juice may help relieve joint pain, muscle soreness, and swelling from inflammatory conditions like arthritis or injuries. The nutrients in tomato juice support the immune system and help the body recover. Benefit 4. It helps reduce stress. Research indicates the potassium and vitamin C in tomato juice can help normalize high blood pressure, lower cortisol, and balance sodium levels when you're stressed. The folate also helps boost mood by producing feel-good serotonin and dopamine. Benefit 3. It aids digestion. The fiber in tomato juice promotes good digestion and regularity. The potassium helps counteract sodium and acts as a diuretic to reduce bloating. Drinking tomato juice may help relieve constipation, diarrhea, and symptoms of IBS. Benefit 2. It boosts immunity. Tomato juice is packed with vitamin C and A, potassium, and antioxidants that strengthen the immune system and help fight infection. Vitamin C in tomato juice also helps you better absorb iron to support healthy blood cells and hemoglobin production. And finally, number 1, it helps detoxify the body. The nutrients and antioxidants in tomato juice support the liver's natural detoxification processes. Lycopene and vitamin C boost glutathione production, the master antioxidant that filters out harmful toxins in the body. Drinking tomato juice helps remove waste and flush excess water. Those are 10 research-backed ways that drinking tomato juice can benefit your health. From promoting skin protection to detoxification and disease prevention, tomato juice packs a nutritious punch. I recommend having a glass daily, ideally with low sodium. Let me know if you start drinking tomato juice and notice any positive impacts on your body below in the comments.
Wow, fantastic. So I think we all need to start drinking tomato juice for our better health. A beloved Sesame Street character set social media ablaze with a simple gesture to his fans. He was playing a little bit of an armchair therapist. So let's learn more about this from TMJ4.
Today's talker Elmo has become the internet's therapist.
Yeah, pretty much. On social media, the beloved Sesame Street character asked, quote, "How is everybody doing?" And the answers were not what Elmo was probably expecting. Celebrities, news outlets, and fellow Sesame Street characters all replied with despair, dread, and just exhaustion. Sesame Street thanked Elmo for checking in and posted links to mental health resources. Now, I do think, you know, a lot of them were serious, but there were also some that I think people were just kind of joking.
Somebody wrote, I did not have all of us trauma dumping on Elmo on my bingo card.
Yes.
And then Oreo said, ran out of milk, do the math.
I saw one that said, Elmo, do you even have a mortgage?
Yeah, he's not affected by the interest rate hike.
Someone said, well, 2024 feels like 2020 plus 4, so... like, and then Chance the Rapper goes, honestly, I'm in a really good place right now.
Yeah.
See?
I want to know where Oscar's at.
Yeah. Well, he probably replied.
Yeah, I want to know his take on how he's doing now.
This is like the internet equivalent of when you ask somebody, like, how are you doing, but you really don't want to know.
Yeah.
And then you
or
get
you
a
just
whole
say
story.
good, even though you don't necessarily mean it.
The social media manager for the Sesame Street account or the Elmo account had to have seen this coming. I mean, come on, that's kind of a softball for the internet in 2020.
But maybe that's why how many followers Elmo has, real quick. Elmo has 525,000 followers.
I know.
Okay.
But then it was shared around, so.
Well, I think it's worth
Go
saying.
tell Elmo your feelings.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe check in on your friends. I think that's worth saying, right? If everyone's trauma dumping on a puppet, maybe we should check in with each other once in a while. Oh. Check on your people.
Free therapy, that's all that is there. So.
Now, responses to Elmo flooded in on X and Instagram, Threads, and Facebook, and conversations even sparked on Reddit and elsewhere. People unburdened themselves, and Elmo took it all in. On X alone, Elmo's question received over 180 million views by midday last Wednesday. Wow. Listen, we're going to take another quick break, but when we come back, we'll have more of Soulivity Today and even more great Wellness Wednesday stories, in about a couple of minutes. See you soon.
Do you see me kneeling on this dual roller called Parasetter? It's actually comfortable because of this channel and the softness of the special foam. It feels like my kneecaps are being massaged. When I lie down, my spine is housed in this channel, while the convex rollers massage my muscles. They let go and lengthen. There's a traction effect from my head on the headrest and my mid-back from the rib wrap, which hugs me. When I start the breathing sequence, I feel calm because my cortisol levels are dropping. Lower cortisol means bye-bye constant hunger. Parasetter is 40 inches long and much more comfortable than old-style rollers, but it weighs only 10 ounces. Parasetter, just like Pilates was, is no longer an insider secret. Do yourself a favor. Reset your parasympathetic nervous system. Defeat stress. Lying, sitting, kneeling, or standing. This unique patented roller helps everyone.
Six years ago when I started Soulivity, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose, so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit Soulivity.com now.
Well, look at you, beautiful New York City. Oh my goodness, it is a bright and sunny day there. Oh man, walking around Manhattan must be fantastic. Listen, I want to say hello and welcome back to Soulivity Today as we look at some of the top stories in health and wellness for another Wellness Wednesday. Now, looking ahead to editorial discussions that are of great importance to our readers and our listeners, we have created an ongoing special editorial feature section dedicated to addressing health access and the lack of equity facing the majority of Americans. Now, this special editorial commitment is a part of our growing discussion, which focuses on the challenges and solutions facing communities across the United States. Now, here's a clip from my interview with Dr. Lynn D. Richardson, who's a Mount Sinai endowed professor of emergency medicine and health equity science and the founding co-director of the Institute for Health Equity Research.
Well, we did a lot of work at the Institute on COVID vaccines, both during the pandemic and since. And there are problems at every level. People in our communities who wanted the vaccine had trouble getting it. So access was an issue. Initially, there was limited supply. And if you didn't have a regular doctor that you were able to go to and get it, it could be very difficult to get. And we did a lot of work on vaccine access and really helping people who wanted the vaccine get it, including people who were homebound, who couldn't go to a COVID vaccine pod, actually have a nurse go to their home and give them the COVID vaccine. And some of those individuals who were very debilitated were at highest risk. So access was an issue. But there was also a lot of skepticism about the vaccine in our communities and others.
Right.
And people talk a lot about mistrust of the healthcare system and the medical system, particularly by Black communities, but also Latina communities and others. I like to talk about trustworthy behavior on the part of the healthcare system and researchers, because mistrust isn't an innate characteristic of our communities. It's a result of their lived experience in this society and the way they're treated by the healthcare system. So a lot of people spend a lot of time talking about what can we do to get communities to trust us? And the answer is behave in a trustworthy manner. Understand that people are reacting to what we're doing. That, I think, really focuses on the kind of things we need to do. We need to tell the truth. We need to be fair to people. We need to treat people with respect. That's how you build trust. And so we did a lot of work training healthcare workers in our communities to actually go out and talk to people in various groups, giving them information about the vaccine. So the information was coming from trusted members of their own communities. Sometimes having an authoritative figure, doctor, scientist, tell people what they need to do is effective, but often having people who are like you tell you from their perspective why they think this is a good idea can also be very effective. So we did a lot of work. You also have to give this information in language that people can understand. If you don't speak English well, then the messages have to go out in the language that you actually speak. So it takes a lot of intentionality to make sure that we are really doing our part in making people, helping people to trust that getting the vaccine is in their best interest and then making it accessible to them. And COVID was obviously a very grave example because none of us had immunity to COVID. It was a brand new disease. And so that's why at the beginning, the death rates were so high. Now, many of us have acquired immunity. I actually contracted COVID, not too surprising. I'm an emergency physician and I was working in the emergency department in Mount Sinai in March and April of 2020. So before there was a vaccine, I contracted COVID. Fortunately, I recovered. I didn't have any serious sequelae, but I got the vaccine as soon as it was available. As a healthcare worker, I wanted that protection, and I wanted the protection for my patients.
Mm-hmm.
So it is, but there are many other diseases that there are effective vaccines. And if you are at risk, rather than just worrying about the effects of the vaccine, I want you to worry about the effects of the disease if it's not prevented by a vaccine.
Right.
People die of influenza, particularly
Right.
older people and infants. People die of RSV, particularly if you have underlying health issues, particularly lung diseases like asthma or COPD. And so I want you to use all of the tools that are available to you to protect your health. Depending on your age and what conditions you have, there are vaccines you should be taking to protect yourself. And getting information about those and getting access to those is really important.
Now, you can watch the full interview with Dr. Richardson by going to our Bridging the Gap Health Equity for All section at soulivity.com today. Well, if you thought that the season for flu, RSV, and other respiratory viruses was over, you'd be wrong. In fact, cases of people suffering from these viruses are on the rise. But what do we need to know? Don't worry, the folks over at Medicine Deconstructed have you covered. Let's check it out.
It's back. Welcome back to Medicine Deconstructed. I'm your host, Dr. Jay Rutland. People are freaking out about the respiratory disease surge in China, Ohio, Wisconsin. Relax. It's caused by known pathogens. Let's get into this right now. Everyone knows I'm a pulmonologist who treats respiratory illness, but more than that, I'm also an intensive care unit doctor. Whenever I hear of a new respiratory infection or an endemic infection somewhere, I raise my eyebrows and I listen. I also wait for the facts. Recently in China, the world has heard of a spike in respiratory illness. The spike is due to known pathogens. The microbes are, drumroll, influenza, we know that one, RSV, or respiratory syncytial virus, I've talked about that, adenovirus, causes pink eye, and Mycoplasma pneumoniae. I've talked about influenza and RSV previously. Quickly, they are RNA viruses that circulate every winter. Flu has a few common treatments: baloxavir, a one-time therapy, and oseltamivir, which is taken for about 5 days. RSV, also an RNA virus, causes inflammation very similar to asthma in kids and adults, as it stimulates the same cytokines that are upregulated in asthma. Remember, RSV has a genome of 10 genes that encode 11 proteins. The G and F proteins mediate host cell entry, and our body makes antibodies to prevent them from being able to do that. There are ways to protect ourselves from severe disease when it comes to RSV. For adults over 60, there are 2 vaccine products on the market. For pregnant patients between 24 and 36 weeks, I believe, there's a vaccine for RSV as well. For children 8 months and younger, Beyfortus or nirsevimab is recommended if you are born during RSV season or entering your first RSV season. If your child is between the age of 8 months and 19 months and has increased risk of severe RSV disease, we also recommend nirsevimab. Children at risk include those born prematurely, like I was, have chronic lung disease, are immunocompromised, or have cystic fibrosis. If you're American Indian or you're an Alaskan Native child, we recommend it too. So what is nirsevimab? Well, it's a monoclonal antibody that binds to the F protein and does not allow the F protein to fuse with our cell membrane. This means white blood cells do not get recruited because cells are protected from infection. The half-life is about 63 to 73 days in infants. This means it protects for several months. We give 50 milligrams intramuscularly for weights less than 5 kilograms and give 100 milligrams intramuscularly for weights greater than or equal to 5 kilograms. Yeah, I would give it to my kid if it was indicated, but my kids are older now. You guys all know that I love monoclonal antibodies, and I've seen RSV wreak havoc on kids and adults. These products are important, and I'm glad they're here. Now, I want you guys to watch the previous episode or part 1 of our little mini series on what's going on with the world. Thanks for joining Medicine Deconstructed. Again, I don't want you guys to be concerned. Remember, when you're in a different part of the world where they're being a lot more strict with social distancing and masking, once they lift those restrictions, you're going to see a rise in respiratory infections, especially viral respiratory infections. We're seeing that in China. That's where we're seeing a rise in influenza and a rise in RSV. You're also seeing the rise in other common pathogens like adenovirus and Mycoplasma pneumoniae.
Thank you, Dr. J. Listen, we're going to take another quick break, and we'll be right back with more of Soulivity Today in just a minute.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame. Living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Soulivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
Look at that beautiful, beautiful Washington, D.C. skyline. It is so beautiful. Wish I could be out there right now, but I can't because I'm here with you, and that's fine by me. Listen, welcome back to Wellness Wednesday here at Soulivity Today. Listen, February is American Heart Month, and if you're looking to keep an eye on your health, specifically your heart health, this next story is just for you. Let's learn more from the folks over at the Today Show on NBC.
This morning on today's checklist, we are focusing on how to keep your heart healthy in honor of American Heart Month. From the numbers to keep an eye on to the daily habits that can set you up for success. Dr. Jennifer Haith is a cardiologist at New York Presbyterian Columbia University Irving Medical Center, and she's here to go through it all with us. Dr. Jen, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
So I know this is just information that keeps needing to be reiterated. There are numbers we should watch out for, and what exactly are those?
Yeah, it's really important, especially since I think you'll be getting a lot of information on your phone now, and you'll be reading your own lab work. So let's talk about blood pressure. Less than 120/80. And this is really important. These are relatively recent guidelines. We want our blood pressure much lower than we used to, and it's especially important for women to prevent stroke. Bad cholesterol, less than 70. Good cholesterol, greater than 60.
Okay.
Yeah.
Essential behaviors, according to the American Heart Association, that we should be aware of. What are those behaviors?
Yeah, so the American Heart Association came out with the Essential 8. And, you know, these are the traditional, you know, don't smoke, eat healthy, exercise. They added sleep most recently, which is really important. They've realized that getting, you know, 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night is really important. Yeah.
For adults?
For adults. Yeah. Children, you know, need a lot more sleep than that.
That's true.
Brain development happening there.
They're always so sleepy in the morning, and at night it's so hard for me to get them to go to bed.
I know.
Let's talk about checks that we should be doing at home.
Okay, so, you know, this is really important. A lot of my patients ask me this a lot. So, first of all, blood pressure cuff. If you're going to have one, make sure the batteries are up to date, because that's a big one. They can give all crazy numbers when it's not ready. Yeah, when the battery's old. So make sure you got fresh batteries. Check your blood pressure now and then. Don't obsess about it. A scale, important to watch your trend. Doesn't have to be, you know, don't have to get crazy about it, but just watch how you're going, which direction. There's a lot of technology out there, fit technology. Keep a track of your heart rate. You know, the lower your heart rate, 50, 60 range usually means you're pretty fit, your resting heart rate. And then when you exercise, it goes up. And it should come down pretty fast. We don't want to see it taking a long time where your heart rate's staying up in the 120 range. So just keep track of it, know what it's like. And then finally, know your body. If you feel anything strange happening, if you've noticed, you know, I'm going to the subway and it's feeling harder going up those stairs or running for the bus, take note of that. Tell your doctor.
Well, speaking of that, what are some of the signs we need to look out for if we think we might be experiencing like a heart attack?
So the traditional, you know, chest pressure, an elephant sitting on your chest, dizziness, lightheadedness, but an important one, nausea, epigastric pain. I've seen a lot of women in particular who start having nausea, vomiting, think that they have, you know, some kind of, you know, food poisoning, and it turns out they're having a heart attack. So, you know, really pay attention to those big ones. Shortness of breath, swelling in your legs.
And there are certain communities that need to be more mindful than others. Can you talk to us about that?
Well, you know, it's really important that we think about women and pregnant women. So maternal mortality has been on the rise, we know, especially in Black and brown women. So, you know, 4 times more likely to die in childbirth. And the main risk factor is cardiovascular disease at this point. But also, you know, women have other risk factors now. So we know, like severe preeclampsia. If you had that in your pregnancy, you're at increased risk for heart disease. If you have an autoimmune disease like lupus or thyroid disease or polycystic ovary, again, higher risk for heart disease later in life. And then obviously early menopause, because menopause is when estrogen levels drop. And, you know, it's important to remember that estrogen, we feel, is protective of the heart. So
Well, let's end on a high note here and talk about some of the advancements that have been made in this particular area, because there have been myriad.
So many. So first of all, we have so many great medications now to treat heart disease. So that's number one. Number two, we have pumps now, LVAD pumps, that can help people with heart failure live for years, even up to 10 years, 15 years sometimes. We have, you know, we can take valves through the leg and replace people's valves without opening their chest anymore.
Fascinating.
Yeah, and then we have better stents, and we have heart transplant always, ultimately, for people with end-stage heart disease.
Wow. Well, that was very, very helpful. Dr. Jen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Fantastic report. Thanks to the folks over at the Today Show. You can learn more about American Heart Month by visiting the American Heart Association website today. Across the pond in Europe, one of the UK's most secretive centers on scientific research, Porton Down, is aiming to stop the next pandemic in its tracks. This includes potential threats like new COVID variants and Disease X, something unforeseen that takes the world by surprise. Let's learn more about this from BBC News.
The British government has unveiled a new vaccine research facility where scientists are working to prevent future pandemics. It's located at Porton Down, a high-security research facility best known for its work on chemical warfare. Experts are preparing for what is known as Disease X, or the next pandemic virus. Our health correspondent Dominic Hughes was given rare access to the facility.
The delicate task of protecting the nation's health. This is one of the laboratories at Porton Down where scientists are analysing current threats, new variants of COVID, for example, and trying to identify new ones. Inside these purpose-built labs, more than 200 scientists working for the UK Health Security Agency are helping to develop and test vaccines against a range of diseases. It's vital work to keep us all safe.
We've got, in many respects, the toughest job in the world, which is to protect health against infectious diseases and environmental hazards. And it is tough because we know that the risks of new and emerging infections, including those of pandemic potential, is increasing.
For decades, scientists at Porton Down have been involved in medical research, as well as the work on chemical and biological warfare, for which the centre is perhaps better known.
During the pandemic, laboratories like this one played an absolutely vital role in assessing how effective the vaccines were in combating the coronavirus, and that work continues today.
But as well as monitoring how effective existing vaccines are against new COVID variants, the new Vaccine Development and Evaluation Centre is looking at emerging threats for which no vaccine yet exists. One of those is Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever, a virus that is spread by the bite of an infected tick and is fatal in about 30% of cases. A serious outbreak occurred in Afghanistan in 2017, but the disease is widespread across Africa, Asia, the Middle East and the Balkans. Changes to climate and the way we live mean viruses like this one could find a way to the UK. But equally, the next pandemic could be caused by a virus that has yet to be identified, what experts call Disease X. Dangers known and unknown. These scientists will be working to make sure we're prepared for both. Dominic Hughes, BBC News, Porton Down.
Well, on that very issue of Disease X, I've been speaking to Professor Dame Jenny Harries. She's the Chief Executive of the UK Health Security Agency. And I asked her how scientists prepare for a threat when they don't know what that threat is.
So that is the challenge, which I think you heard our Chief Scientific Officer, Professor Isabel Oliver, describe. But there are a number of steps that we can take. We can be better prepared in terms of surveillance, and we're doing that work separately. But what we do in the UKHSA labs at Porton Down, which is separate, I might say, from the Ministry of Defence facilities for chemical warfare, is get ourselves ready both to isolate the new pathogens, to develop assays so that we can test them accurately, and to work with other partners, with academics and with pharmaceutical companies to test out prototypes for vaccines and then be ready to evaluate them. And the really exciting thing about the legacy from the pandemic is we now have 2,800 square meters of laboratory space we didn't have before, and we're using that as part of our new strategy to ensure we're as best prepared as we can be for new pathogens and some existing ones.
What would you say?
And so we want to thank you for joining us for this Wellness Wednesday. You can learn more about this BBC story by clicking the link in our live chats, as well as all our other stories. We've already posted those as well. Listen, everyone, we're out of time. Just want to remind everyone that you want to make sure that you follow us on social media, where you can learn more about Soulivity.com and all of the upcoming events and shows that we have on our YouTube channel. Make sure you go to, when you're there, our YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe at Soulivity Magazine. And this is also available via podcast as well. Listen, we're almost out of time. Just want to thank you for joining us for this Soulivity Today. You can watch us at 8 a.m. Eastern on our Soulivity channels, or 8 a.m. Pacific time on KMET 1490 AM radio for all of you guys out on the West Coast. Thanks again. Keep working on your passion and purpose, people, and you're going to create your best life today. See you next time.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights reserved.